So we can't really talk about the problem with Ophelia without talking about the suicide. So the suicide is so often held up as evidence that she is somehow a weak-willed character, which first off is fucking ableist. And second off, it's not really supported in the script, because she is shown throughout the play as speaking her mind, even to people above her station, and being very strong-willed. So you get to this point, and you have to think about the fact that in society at this time, her life would not be determined by herself. So she's at the whim of her brother and the king, especially now that her father has died and her best prospect of a husband has been banished. And so if she doesn't want to just do what they say, the only thing that she actually has power and agency over is her physical body. So the only choice that she can make that is actually an active choice, no matter how tragic, is to suicide. I'm just gonna say it. Fuck what Shakespeare intended. We don't know what the fuck he intended. He died 400 years ago. And the fact is that either something is supported in the text or it's not supported in the text. Who cares whether Shakespeare intended Shylock to be the protagonist of that play? He sure as fuck is the protagonist of that play if you're doing it in any way that makes any sense. Who cares if he thought that Richard III was a misogynist and put all these women in the play on purpose to make a statement? I might believe that. And I talk about these things like they're intended in the text, but the fact is not whether or not Shakespeare intended them in the text. The fact is whether they are in the text. It's not his anymore. It's yours. And if you produce or direct or act in Shakespeare, it is yours to decide what that is supported in the text is important to you. Yes. I firmly believe that all art is a conversation, and at a certain point, each person who touches it has to let go of it to the next person to interact with it. And for me, in theater, that goes, the writer has to let go of it and let it become the producer or the director's show. The director has to let go of it and let it become the actor's show. The actors and the designers and the tech people. And the actors and the designers and the tech people have to let go of it and let it be the audience's show. If you hold on to it too hard and you think I have to be right, you have to only interpret this the way that I interpret this, you are missing the inherent conversation that exists in art, which is like the whole fucking point. Now, this doesn't mean that I don't think that context doesn't matter, or that knowing the meaning of words in the time or things like that don't matter, understanding the power structures. But as far as like how it was supposed to be interpreted at the time, like intent doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All right. So can we please stop believing unreliable narrators in Shakespeare about what they say about other people? Looking at you, people who produce Hamlet, and think that everything that he says about his mom, or like anybody else for that matter, is correct. He's literally wrong about everything that he assumes about other people. Also looking at you, Richard III, where he leaves every single battle of the wits or interaction with a woman and thinks that he's won, when he has, in fact, done the opposite of that. Can we please stop taking what people say about other characters, particularly female characters, as truth, and actually examine what their behavior supports and what is supported by the text? Because seriously, this thing where we believe the most unreliable narrator about other people in the play is making for boring theater. All right, so I want to talk for a little bit of a minute about Richard III. And I want to talk about Richard III's problem with women. In some ways, Richard III is like the MRA, men's rights activist numero uno, OG. He has no idea how women operate. He has no idea what they want, what they need, and where their power comes from. And yet, he thinks he does. He thinks that he has won every single interaction he has with a woman in that play. And in fact, He has come out the opposite of winning with those. Even the interaction with Anne, which I really am going to talk about soon. It's very important. But the thing is there are 4 major women's roles in that play. That is a lot of women's roles for Shakespeare. They're all juicy, they're all interesting, and I don't think that that's on accident. I think that Richard's understanding of people and how to manipulate them breaks down around women, and that that's a really important part of the play. Let's talk about Richard III and Anne. So there's this scene at the beginning where Richard woos Anne and he gets his ring on her finger and she says, okay, I'll meet you. People play this like what he says afterward, that he wooed her, is actually true and that she falls in love with him. I firmly don't believe this. I believe that this is a high-pressure situation. I believe that this is like when you're at the bar and some dude corners you and the only thing you can do is say no and say no and say no, and when he doesn't take no for an answer, you give him your phone number. Because that scene starts out slow, she says no multiple times, and then the scene gets faster and faster and faster until the ring is on her finger. I think it's a manipulation, and I think Richard knows it. And I think Anne knows it too, because she is in a position of zero power in society right now. Like, her side in the war lost. She, as a single woman with no patron, has no power, and she's stuck. And it's terrifying. And I think that scene is really messed up, and that's on purpose.